So the biggest thing I saw is our top two fundraisers were students that their names are probably not known names in our school. I thought that was cool because we are a school that is very athletic centered, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. But we're very competitive. The people that we know the most are the ones who are three sport athletes. We're a smaller school. That's just what we are, and there's no shame in that. But there's kids that um, don't like PE. They don't like competition, and those were my two top fundraisers in the district. And I thought that was really, really cool to see. If you were a top fundraiser for your grade, you got Subway for lunch. That was just kids like something different. So, yeah, Subway's right across the road from our high school. So they had that opportunity. If they were the top fundraiser in the building, they were able to shadow anybody in the district for a day. So I'll just use an example. Christy Beery's daughter was in the middle school. She was one of the top fundraisers, and she was able to shadow the secretary at the middle school for a day. And after speaking with her, she talked about, this job's hard. Didn't expect our secretary to be doing this much every day, but it gives them a chance to get out. They were still responsible for their work and whatnot, but they got to choose who they wanted to spend the day with. And that's an eye opener for our staff as well, is you have a kid that's selecting you because they want to be with you all day. Um, so we did a couple added things. Of course, the t-shirt, if they hit that benchmark, we used all of the resources online, like the thermometer and the achievement charts and things of that nature. I made those bigger in the cafeteria. I had a big Health Moves Minds poster that kids could pledge to be kind, and so they could write their name at lunch, just to have their name up on the wall. It amazes me that that's interesting to kids, just having their name on a piece of paper on the wall. But that thing was full. That stayed up the rest of the year. Throughout our building, we also made stop signs that said stop, have a mindful minute, stop, take a kindful minute. And they were just randomly throughout our halls. So during one of my PE classes, all the students helped me make some of these signs. During that week, we did the I Am Empowered lesson. And the seminar classes had a sheet of paper that said I am outside of their door. And so after the lesson was over, they had to go and fill three things that they felt represented themselves. And like, I am confident, I am beautiful, I am, etc. And those hung outside the seminar doors for the 3 months remaining of school. We had parent teacher conferences that Thursday as well after our big event. And I took those and hung them into the gym, and I had parents walking over and seeing these things as well. So we kept the same theme. We just added more things around our school so kids could be reminded of that daily. We were able to get equipment for team building, and that's what I'm seeing right now in our school is we're separated kind of in groups. Like we have the athletes, we have the band, and you see that everywhere. But in my classes, I try to get everyone to mesh together. So we were able to get like a spider net to do team building activities. And the kids really enjoyed that. That's how we kicked off the year. But I think being able to buy that equipment to build a sense of community with all of our students and not in just separate groups, that's the impact that I see from this fundraiser. So last year we ran an event for about a week where students had an SEL lesson every day from the Health Moves Minds curriculum. We talked about cell phone usage. We talked about mindful breathing, mindful minutes, being kind to ourselves, empowerment. All of those things came from Health Moves Minds, and we implemented them into our homerooms, our seminar classes. And then when we got to the end of the week, it was during a parent teacher conference week, so we had a short day. That short day consisted of a 4 hour period of physical activity in SEL. So we had a station that was mindful breathing with the parachute. We had a yoga station. We had just dance going on in the building for just a fun thing. We had a kindness letter station in the art room where they could decorate a letter to anybody in the school district, and those were given out later. But that day was just full of Health Moves Minds. The kids enjoyed it. They were unsure about it first. They didn't know what to expect. This was new to them. But they ended up, by the end of the day, we're hearing great comments like, this is awesome. Like, I'd rather do this for a full day than, sit in class and wait for the bell to ring because it was that short early out day. Then we had a speaker, a lady who was local. She started her own fitness business, and is leading thousands of women on an online platform. She came and spoke to our kids about being a positive domino and fitness, and relating both of those things, gave away some prizes. And it was just a big assembly for the students to kind of wrap up that day. So we had SEL, physical activity, the assembly, lunch, and then kids went home for the weekend. These lessons were shown through video. We started off with a mindful minute, closing our eyes, just kind of relaxing and trying to get our body to calm down, our mind to calm down, and thinking about ways that we can be aware of what's going on in our body and around us without being overwhelmed. And we have a character strong SEL program in our school already, and they do that every Tuesday, but this was something different. And that was what I heard from teachers and students. Like, they enjoyed this because it was different. They were able to get up and moving. It was more practical. It was not writing things down. It fit their grade level. And so that was what impressed me first, was the students grabbed a hold of it real quick. The teachers were more apt to do these things in their classrooms. I had teachers who chose later on in the week to just follow the lesson that I provided them. This is what I like about Health Moves Minds, is they're able to get up and move in a lot of the lessons. They don't necessarily at the high school level want to be lectured on SEL. They don't want a PowerPoint shown or teachers to be redundant about it. They want to see it practical. They want to get up and move. They don't want to be sitting. And I know if they're sitting, they're probably going to try to be on their phones. Like, we've got to eliminate those things. So that's what Health Moves Minds, that takes that component away and adds them that physical movement, that physical activity. And then it's like, oh, the light bulb clicks on. Okay, now I get it. We did the mindful parachute. I know it's in the elementary and the middle school, but I have found, even just teaching my PE classes, they like to be a kid again. So the parachute that came out, we let them have some fun with it. We played some parachute games, and then we brought everything back to center and talked about mindful breathing. Talked about what that looks like with our lungs and how the parachute can mimic that, and what emotions do with the balls on the parachute and the bean bags and heavier balls and things like that. And we got them hooked by the games, the fun, and then we were able to connect it to the SEL lesson. Same thing with our phones is there's a lesson called analyzing cell phone usage. This has to be my favorite lesson by far. It wasn't so much active up and moving, but they were able to get up and talk. We took something that we're trying to eliminate, which is the phones, and made it practical so they can realize, like, oh, I'm spending 8 hours on my phone a day. Like, I can be doing so much other things that, this is like wasting my time almost. They were so consumed in this. And we end up, the conversations from those lessons created the topic, the conversation of, things move so fast anymore. And that's what our phones do. And we have to take time to slow down. So by the time they rotated through these stations and they get to mindful breathing and they talked about their cell phones and a kindful minute and things like that, they all started to mesh together. Throughout the week, when we was doing these activities, we did the mindful minute, the I'm empowered, and the cell phone usage. And then Thursday, we had all the stations. As I was walking around, and this was the cool thing, is I was able to walk around and watch other teachers and other people in our community lead some stations, like Just Dance, and we did some ball exercises, things like that, just some added ones, because we had over 300 students that day. But what I was able to see is kids who aren't actively engaged in physical activity participate. But that day, it was like everything was good in the world. We didn't have any discipline issues that day. We had kids that were going so hard, giving 100% effort in these, whether it's dancing or jump rope or whatever it was, that they needed to sit out because they were sweating and they were drinking water. And I don't know, that was just cool for me to see, because that was a sense of community that I wanted to build. And it was just basic physical activity movement. So in the end, when we talk about SEL and we're trying to tell these kids constantly and lecture, be kind, do this, do that, like, we don't necessarily have to do that, because You can show it in different ways. You can teach it in different ways. And I think that day proved all of that. I think the biggest moment of pride or accomplishment that I saw was in the kids, like I said earlier, that aren't really known in our school, and they were recognized for being top fundraisers, and they were able to be recognized. They were able to pie a teacher in the face at the end of the day. They were able to get their t-shirt if they received one. I let them know this year when I set up the spider net, like, this is what that money went towards. They're like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And then we participate, through the spider net activity, and they thought it was, fabulous. They enjoyed it, thought it was cool. So that, I think, was the biggest thing that I saw, was just the sense of pride in those students that don't always get noticed.